Hi, this is Celeste. I'm an astrologer, coach, and intuitive. And today I'm going to share with you the moon phase families, one of the best ways to work with the moon for long range planning, as well as to just understand where you're coming from, where you're going, and just really you can connect into more of your life and soul story when you understand the moon phase families. So let's get started. Okay, let me make it full screen. So here we go. The moon phase families are a 27-year gestational cycle where the moon comes back to the same place every 9 months, just like a baby comes, and at a different phase of the moon cycle. So all will become clear later. This is a talk that is a bit intermediate, but if you have any interest in astrology, even if you don't, if you're interested in how to understand planning cycles and be more effective and with projects, this is a good system to have some understanding of. So I hope you enjoy this talk. I enjoyed getting ready for it, and here we go. So what the agenda will be today is I'll just talk a little bit about the phases of the moon. Um, and we'll dive in just on a high level to the nature of the zodiac signs in terms of the polarities, the elements, and the modes. And then we'll give an example for the December 14th solar eclipse of 2020. It's a great cycle to introduce this concept to you or explain it deeper if you've already heard of it. And all of this work was pioneered by Dietrich Pessin. She's an astrologer from the Boston area who noticed this cycle working with her clients. So I'm thank you very much to this amazing woman. This book is very, very dense, but it's so good. So if you're an astrologer and you work a lot with the moon, even if you don't, you might want this book. If you're not an astrologer, it's a bit much. There's a resource to an article at the end. I love this quote. Yeah, aim for the moon. If you miss, you may hit a star. Yes. So who am I? So I'm an astrologer, I'm a coach, and I am an intuitive. I'm a Taurus sun, an Aries moon, and a Cancer rising. So my Taurus sun makes me very stable, reliable, and practical. My Aries moon gives me an initiating spirit. Um, I have a need to be independent and start things and inspire people. And my Cancer rising, I have a consultative approach and a warm way of working with my clients to make sure they feel comfortable and know they are seen, heard, and can share. What is my background? So I have a science background. I have a bachelor's in integrated biology. I went to UC Berkeley for my undergrad and got my MBA from St. Mary's College. I have been in sales, marketing, and business development. I've had a very successful career for 20 years plus. I don't want to age myself too much because I'm still trying to consider myself a youngster, but I've had a very long career, and I found astrology. It was a fluke, and a couple of years ago, and from day one, it had me at hello, and I have dedicated my life, as I feel it is my soul's purpose, to share this incredible knowledge with others and help them expand their lives and ignite their passions. Great. So what's my training to provide you with this talk? So I have studied with many astrologers for many years. Leslie McGurk, I'll be forever grateful, introduced me to this technique. I've also taken class series with Bronwyn Simmons and April Kent Elliott. Excuse me, April Elliott Kent of Big Sky Astrology. These are all wonderful, wonderful astrologers. I've taken kabillion classes. I'm part of Astrology Hub. I am literally an addict. But I have completed programs with Deborah Silverman Astrology. I completed all 3 levels of her program, as well as Rebecca Gordon Astrology. I am an intermediate astrology graduate, and I believe I've taken every single one of the classes that she offers. So I have been blessed to have these wonderful teachers to help guide me in this technique, uh, this ancient technique of using the as above, so below, seeing what's on Earth from in the stars. So let's first talk about the moon phases. We're going to keep this simple. Today, we're going to talk about just the sun and the moon. And from, I don't know how many thousands of years ago, humans have navigated and used these luminaries um, to guide them through life. So the sun, you know, it animates the light and the moon reflects it. So when we're talking about astrology, when we're talking about our sun sign, we're talking about our conscious self, our identity, our outward expression, ego, and our wants. When we're talking about the moon, we're talking about the subconscious, our emotions, our feelings, how we need to be nurtured, our behaviors, our habits, our instincts, our needs. So it's really an axis of want versus needs when you're talking about the sun and the moon. And one of the beauties of astrology is it helps you make the unconscious conscious. So when you understand and can look at these cycles and see what's going on and look within yourself, you can, I mean, it's just amazing. If you stay till the end of the talk, I'll give you, there's a surprise at the end, giving you some insight on astrology in action and how magical this system is. So first, what are the phases of the moon? So the phases of the moon is always talking about the relationship between the sun and the moon from the moon's perspective. Okay, so if you look at this, you can see here is an example. The sun is always going to be on over here. Just imagine the sun over here, and the moon is on the left side off screen. So at the new moon, the moon and the sun come together, and the sun is enormous. And when they're standing together, you can't see the moon at night. It's dark because the sun's rays the sun essentially blocks it out from our perspective on Earth. And as the waxing cycle begins, there are 8 phases. The light increases all the way to the full moon. And at that point, you're at maximum light. So we can see the entire side of the moon. And you can, everyone has seen the beauty of the full moon. And so that's the culmination. And then the moon loses her light as she wanes, and we come back to the new moon and start again. And one of the beauties of this as well is that we live in a very solar society. I'm an American, if you couldn't tell, and being in corporate all these years, and it's just just about anybody. There's so much focus to constantly move things forward, and we forget that our natural cycles our natural body is a cycle. It works in rhythms. There is a time to make outward motions and a time to pull back and to rest. And this cycle works beautifully with that, to extend action, see what we've got, make some adjustments, and come back and start anew. So this cycle, you can work with this just every month, and make set intentions and move through them. So there are 8 phases, but I have found it's just best to work with the main 4 phases where there's what's called hard aspects. And I'll explain this a little bit more later. But some people just work with the new moon. Some people just work with the full moon. Some people work with the new and full. But I recommend working with the new, the first quarter, the full moon, and the closing quarter because they happen about a week apart. So this makes sure you take time to think about your intentions in your life and reflect and move forward with purpose rather so making life work for you rather than to you is one of the best things that can come up from working with the moon. And whether you're working with these cycles or not, these are things are happening in your life and around them. But when you make the unconscious conscious, you can act with more purpose and deliberation. So the new moon cycle, is where the sun and moon are standing together. It's dark. Seeds are planted in the dark. The story begins. And that's why we set intentions at the new moon, because we can, you know, actively put stories in motion when we do this planning. But stories will start regardless of we do this or do not. And then at the first quarter moon, as you can see, half of the moon's light. There is this time, there is like a crisis of action. The story's visible, problem surface. It's time to make decisions. So let's just say you're taking a diet. A diet is a great thing to think about a month cycle. So at the new moon, you decide you want to start a new exercise plan, lose weight, what have you. A week into it, you come back, take stock, and then it's like, oh, I've been eating chocolate the whole time. Maybe I should stop that, or I don't know, whatever is your thing. But you come to a realization, and you know it's time to make adjustments. Or maybe you're doing great, but you'd like to add an additional level. You'd like to level up, and say you gave up, I don't know, chocolate at the start. You decide, hey, I'm going to give up potato chips too. That's perfect. At the full moon, like, it's very clear. Are you going to celebrate your success that you see on the scale or that you know from what you've been doing? Or are you going to say, oopsie, and make some plans to make more intentions to move forward? Everything is illuminated at the full moon, and you would make plans public. I mean, some people might be saying to you, oh, you look so nice, you look good, blah, 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 if you have been successful with your intention. At the closing quarter moon, it's a crisis of action. It's time to clean up, find wisdom, reap rewards or consequences. So now you're really looking good 3 weeks in, or you're feeling like, oh no, what happened? And then you either decide to start again at the next cycle. Sometimes people give up, but I always say keep on keeping it on. So hopefully you keep on. But 3 weeks after you've started this, whatever it is, new exercise plan, new diet, or what have you, you should be able to see results, pat yourself on the back, or decide what you're going to do next. Great. So let's go into the signs. Most people know their sun sign. There are 12 signs of the zodiac. This system is so beautiful. It's a lot to go into. So I'm hoping you have a basics understanding of astrology, or understand the signs happen. They're correlated to the calendar. So Aries is the start of the cycle. It's about the March time frame. It's Aries season starts. Taurus season starts in May. Excuse me, Taurus season starts in April. Gemini season starts in May. Cancer season starts in June. I think I'll leave it there because apparently I don't know how to count my months. But the point is, this is one, and you can see these numbers here. It goes around in that order, and the 12th month is Pisces. So it's a little different than we think of December starting the year, but I love starting the year, thinking about the year really starting in in the spring when things are growing and, there's a sense of renewal and hope and time to take action and what have you. Whereas the winters, we're a little more inward at the winter. So anyway, these are the 12 signs. And each sign can be broken down into in different ways. One of the biggest beauties of this system, it's a system of 12. And you can divide 12 by 2, 3, and 4, and 6 as well. But we're going to just talk about 2, 3, and 4 today, and break these signs down in ways. So just high level, the first breakdown, it's really the entrance to astrology. Typically when you're learning, is to learn about the elements of fire, earth, air, and water. Today we're going to focus on Sagittarius because we're going to talk about the solar eclipse in Sagittarius as the example. So just focusing on that, Sagittarius is a fire sign. I love Sagittarius. It's ruled by the planet Jupiter. It's optimism. Some of my favorite people are Sagittarians, and they just have a joyful sense, often just wonderful storytellers. They just have a zest for life. They love to travel. They are, love to move. They like to party. We have Thanksgiving is in Sagittarius season every year. So it's just a time of joy and celebration. So these are the different elements, and you can take a snapshot if you, want some of the key words here. So, and then we have polarities, the yin and the yang, and each sign is either masculine or feminine. The fire signs and the air signs are yang, masculine, and I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about like having an outward focus. They're being, outgoing, action-oriented, pushing out, whereas yin signs, the earth and water signs, are more receptive. And you don't really need to know this, but if you go around the wheel, let's just go back here. So we go fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water, the triplicities of the elements. The polarities are by 2. So yang, yin, yang, yin, yang, yin, and you go from there. Next, we're going to talk about what is the key to astrology when you're working with transits or the moon phases. It's called the modes. So the modes are cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Cardinal signs are the initiators. They're Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. The fixed signs are the maintainers. So cardinal starts the season, fixed maintains the seasons, and by seasons, let's say spring. Aries is a cardinal sign. Taurus is a fixed sign. Gemini is a mutable sign, and the mutable signs end each season. So you can see Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces are the mutable signs. And this is one of the biggest keys to understanding astrology. If this is something you really have an interest in working with it, because the modes are just key. And you can see they're at essentially right angles to each other. So by 4. So Aries is cardinal, Cancer is cardinal, Libra is cardinal, and Capricorn is cardinal. So think hard angles. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it'll make more sense later if it doesn't. So this is just a nice chart to demonstrate each sign has a polarity, it has an element, and it has a mode. And so we're talking today about Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a fire sign. It's mutable energy, so wanting to make adjustments, and it's yang, outward. And just one quick thing I want to suggest. When you're learning astrology, I highly suggest learning it with this wheel in mind, because in terms of the signs, like Aries is opposite Libra, I am versus I partner. Taurus is opposite Scorpio. It's like I have versus what we have. Gemini, I think, little mind, Sagittarius, big mind, and so on. So there's axes of the polarities for the signs that are opposite each other. So it's a good way as you're learning to remember the numbers of the houses that go with the signs, as well as think of them with, you know, all four things as you build your understanding. Okay, now we're to the moon cycles. Let me have a cup of my tea. I have my little dog person mug. So the key to the moon phases. So whenever we're talking about the big transits, we're talking about the hard aspects, which are the conjunction. This is 0 degrees. The sun and the moon are at the same degree in the same sign. The square, there's a 90-degree angle, and the new moon is always a conjunction. The square, the 90-degree angle, the sun and moon are 90 degrees apart. So the first quarter and the last quarter are both these angles. So when there's a conjunction, the energies essentially fuse. When there's a square, it's a hard angle. There's a bit of a feeling of being at cross purposes. The different modes want to do the same thing, but in different ways. So we're talking about Sagittarius. So Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces all are mutable signs and all have a desire to perfect, to change, to organize, to create. They all have the same kind of energy, but this mutable energy, but want to do it in different ways. So when they come together at these right angles, there is a sense of tension. And the conjunction is when you have those polarities as well, those opposing signs. So Gemini is opposite Sagittarius, which we're talking about today. Gemini is like the little mind, facts, figures, just gathering information, whereas Sagittarius speaks to compiling it to a bigger story, a philosophy, a religion, just this bigger, broader, expansive, putting the pieces together. And it may not be like, they may not be perfectly arranged, but it's the Sagittarian essence of the bigger philosophy. So there are other aspects, soft aspects like trines and sextiles, but we're not going to talk about that today. We're just focused on the conjunction, the square, and the opposition. And one last thing, the opposition, when the sun and moon are opposing, you see the full story because the moon is at its brightest. Okay. So, oh no, where's the slide? Oh, I must have done something. Well, that's okay. This was spontaneous. I had a slide that shows the new moon solar eclipse family for the solar eclipse December 14th of 2020. But we're going to just roll with it, and I will just tell you about it one by one. So as I mentioned, when there is a moon phase family, it's composed of the new moon, the first quarter moon, the full moon, and the last quarter moon. So these four families. The sun starts the story. The new moon starts the story, and the sun and the moon are standing together in the same sign at the same degree. So you can see right here, The sun and the moon are at 23 Sagittarius. And I chose to start with this family, even though it's past, because this is like, it's almost like a new start for everyone. It's not almost like, it is like, we all have a new start in some way. Eclipses, it's like the channel changes, something changes. It may not be clear what has changed for about 3 months, but something has always changed, and the energy continues to grow. And at 3 months, you typically see what's going on, and it starts to dissipate. And at 6 months, the energy is replaced by the next eclipse cycle. So it's a big deal. Also, what happened is on the solstice in last year, we had Jupiter and Saturn they met at 0 degrees Aquarius. So that started us on a new 20-year cycle, each of us. So it's really nice to look at this new moon, because it was right before the it was right before the geez, I can't. It was like right before the Great Conjunction. Sorry, I lost my words, with Jupiter and Saturn, the social planets, at 0 Aquarius. But anyway, so this is a new moon. It's a solar eclipse. And how do you know it's a solar eclipse, even though I didn't write it on the slide? Whenever the nodes, this is the nodes, the north node looks like a horseshoe and the south node looks like an upside down horseshoe. When they're within a certain degree of the either new moon or full moon, you have either a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. And as I said, it's either a new moon times 10 or a full moon times 10, and the channel changes. So there's so much energy that something new started in your life. It may be a release of something. The south node is like a release point. But I hope you made some intentions. And if you didn't, every month you've got a new choice, a new chance to make intentions, and in the area of your chart of where you have Sagittarius. So the new moon, the story began. If you're sometimes these things start, it's subconscious. New moons happen in the dark. As I mentioned, you may not even see it for a while, but something started. So make a note to look back at the Pisces season, when we have the new moon in Pisces, and see if you can connect to this story. So 9 months later, again, as I said, this is a gestational cycle. It's almost like having a baby. So a lot of times you don't know what's began necessarily. Maybe you do. Maybe you set intentions. If you are an Aries or Aries rising, set intentions to expand, teach, broadcast. This is the ninth house themes. So maybe you set these intentions. And by the first quarter moon, which is that 21 Sagittarius. So remember, we talked about the 23 was the start. 9 months later, almost at the same exact degree, the moon is there. And it's September 13th this year. You will see something will be visible in your life from this story. So at the first quarter moon, as I mentioned, there's always modes involved. So Sagittarius is mutable, so is Virgo. So at the first quarter moon, the moon is 90 degrees ahead of the sun, always, always, always. So keep that in mind. So as long as you understand the wheel, you don't really need a chart to tell you what it is. If there's a new moon in Taurus, in 9 months, it'll be a first quarter moon in Leo. In a year and a half, the 18 months, it'll be the full moon in in Scorpio. So if you know the modes, if you know the signs, you can figure it out without any kind of chart. I'm using Solar Fire here. So Solar Fire will pull up the um, new moon family series for you. But just so you know, I'm trying to keep this really simple. So the sun is here in Virgo and the moon is in Sagittarius. So what does that mean? So it's a crisis point. It's like you see what you've been creating and you decide to make adjustments. If it was a relationship, this is perfect for relationships. So you started dating at the new moon, you like each other, everything's great. At the first quarter moon, and it's not the date per se, but like a week or so before or a week or so after, you can see somewhere around this time, something comes to light. It could be like, oh my God, I love, love, love this person. It could also be like, huh, I'm not sure. And you like take notes of what you're seeing mentally on what's going on with this relationship. It can also be a project you started where really long range, something like starting a business or writing a book where, there's it's a long time to push forward. So anyway, at this point, it's time to make some adjustments. Sometimes it's time to like shed some things, and like you thought you could climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but your actual goal is to climb a big mountain, and you still decide, I think I'm going to stick with Mount Rainier because I'm not sure I'm ready for Kilimanjaro. I don't even know if that makes sense, but you make an adjustment. The goal is to climb the mountain. Maybe you change the mountain you're going to climb. Okay. So at the full moon, the moon, as we see, it's still at, oh, shoot. I apologize. This is not it's not on Aries. It should be in the 9th house and the 3rd house axis. Apologies, I deleted the wrong slide. I decided to do this morning, and here we are. So anyway, it's all correct. It's just Gemini rising rather than Aries rising. So the moon is in Sag and the sun is in Gemini. So they're opposite each other, 180 degrees. So this is like your book is done. The product is launched. Your business is running, and you can see the full view of what's going on at this point. And the sun and the moon are opposing each other. And when it's this Gemini Sagittarius, it may be something about expansion or learning or what have you. You have time to celebrate what you've done, what you created. You've launched it, so it's out there in the world, and it's time to release what does not serve you and forgive yourself for any things that didn't get done that you wanted to get done, and just accept you're at maximum awareness and seeing things as they really are. And this is the last quarter moon in Sagittarius. And again, I have Virgo on the ascendant here. I did these all with Aries, apologies. But the sun, if you can consider it as the sun in the 6th house and the moon in the 9th house, it would all look the same. I'll fix the slides before I post them. But anyway, this is the story. So Pisces is the sun is within 90 degrees. The moon is within 90 degrees of coming back to the sun. So it's time to reap the rewards. The story is 3/4 of the way over. You're making money from the book. You're making money from the product launch. You're getting married or breaking up. You're you're making, it's another crisis of action where you're making decisions, or decisions are happening outside of you. So this is the third quarter or last quarter phase. And then in 9 months, a new story will begin. And obviously, we have multiple stories running all the time. So for this family, this Sagittarius solar eclipse moon phase family, there's also what we call the houses. So the houses are in where the action is at. So if you are a Sagittarius sun or a Sagittarius rising sign, something new started within yourself, and it's about yourself, your vitality, your appearance, or your soul. Like it could have been you decided, hey, I'm going to, change my look, lose weight, whatever. If you're a Capricorn or a Capricorn rising, it's the action is in your second house. And this is about money, possessions, and values. So you may decide to like go for a promotion or some way to increase your personal income is often what we think about when we think about the second house. If you're a Gemini, if you're an Aquarius, this work happened in your third house. You had a new story start that has something to do with your siblings, communications. It could be about your neighborhood. It could be about short range travel. So networking, maybe you decide to join a networking group or something like that. Yes, that's that story. If you are a Pisces, something new started likely with your home, your roots, your private self. Maybe you've made a change. You decided to make a change that you want to move houses, and you start the process of looking, or inside your soul, there's a feeling of wanting to move houses. Now with the South Node eclipse, this is a little more complicated. Sometimes things outside of your control are what starts. So I don't know, maybe your parents decide they want to move into a nursing home, or even better, your house. That could be something that could happen. If you are in Aries, this happened in your fifth house. This solar eclipse happened in your fifth house. So the fifth house is the house of joy. It's the house of children, dating, sex, creativity, fun. So maybe there's a new start here. You could have gotten pregnant or something, or started dating someone, or decided to get online to date, or ask someone to introduce you to someone, or decide to paint your masterpiece, or write your book, or whatever. But I love this for Aries. And Taurus, unfortunately, this is a new start in your house of daily life and health. It's kind of the sixth house is kind of like a bummer, but it's not. It's good. It's where we serve. So I'm a Taurus, and I decided I was going to do a sober January. So it's January 31st. I did my sober January. Well, I had some champagne on January 1st, but that's it. And I've actually decided to extend it into February and maybe even March. So anyway, yes, your health. So if you are a Taurus sun or rising and have any kind of concerns about your health, get to a doctor immediately and just get a checkup. If you're a Gemini, it could be a new start in terms of marriage, relationships, or business partners. So you could decide to get married, decide to get divorced, decide to have a partnership or break up a partnership. Also, legal stuff can start in the seventh house. If it's the eighth house, if you're a Cancer sun or rising, I'm a Cancer rising. So it's about sex, death, other people's money, taxes. This is the house of shared resources. It's the house of the secret self. You may decide you want to, build your savings faster. You may decide you may get an inheritance or decide to give an inheritance. Um, yeah, the business you're running may, decide to take a loan at this point. If you're a Leo, it's a ninth house full new moon. Apologies for the dogs, but anyway. So the ninth house is the natural house of Sagittarius. It's a house of higher learning, travel, law, publishing, philosophy. Maybe you're going to start your own podcast, go back to school to get an advanced degree. No matter who you are with this new moon in Sagittarius, it's a good time to decide to advance your learning, to bring on new skills. In the 10th house, the house of career, social status, your life's purpose, Virgo. So Virgos may decide to change jobs or go for a promotion, or this could also be get married. That's your social status. You may figure out your calling, and maybe your calling is to be a poet, even though you are an accountant, and you could start, your collection of poetry. The 11th house is Libra, perfect for a Libra. Libra likes to partner. It's the house of friends, social groups, hopes, and dreams. So Libra could join a new online community or sign up for Clubhouse. I'm on this, and it's really interesting. I haven't had much time to listen. But yeah, it's just this new app where people can just gather, and just, you don't see people, you just hear people talking about a whole range of topics. So you could do that, or find some other social group, or get on Instagram and follow me at Astrology by Celeste, also Facebook or YouTube. And the 12th house, which is also kind of a little bit of a bummer house, this is Scorpio, where there's a new start in your house of secrets. It's also about mental health. It's a house of secrets, mysticism, self-undoing, and institution. So this is, it could be a really good time to decide to, take better care of your mental health, get more sleep. Maybe you need more solitude. It's also about solitude. Maybe you want to work in an institution like a hospital or a jail. It's really the subconscious. So maybe you're going to do some more meditation. But just think about, if you're a Scorpio or a Scorpio rising, really taking care of your mental health. It's really important, because as this was, how I mentioned, it was a South Node solar eclipse, there could be something new starting that really needs to be taken care of. And if you don't, there could be, consequences that aren't positive. So yeah, so this is the signs, the houses, and the where of this solar eclipse that started December 14th. So I hope this was helpful, and that it gave some greater clarity to the story of moon phase families. Several people have asked me to explain it, so I hope it gave them more clarity. Every moon phase, so every week I do on Instagram, you'll see it on Instagram or Facebook, what the dates are and the degrees and the sign for each of the new first quarter, full, and last quarter moons of this family. So these are some resources. Dietrich Pessin, as I said, she is the founder of this technique. So she figured out this cycle. And this book is incredible. This is really for astrologers. It's not, unless you're an Aquarius or something, and you just really love learning stuff. I mean, it's dense. But Frank Clifford, you can just search for Frank Clifford. He's a fantastic astrologer, and he has an article on his website. Just search his name and lunar phase family, and you'll find him. April Kent Elliott and her co-host Jen talk about the families on the Big Sky Astrology podcast. She's a wonderful astrologer, and talks about the moon all the time. And yeah, so you can check that podcast out if you're a moonophile. Actually, it's a selenophile. Anne Ortley is one of my favorite predictive astrologers. She does a weekly weather every Sunday. It drops. It's like Christmas morning. I love, love, love Anne, and was just listening to one of her talks on the energy flow method, and realized her Jupiter's on my ascendant. So that gave me some understanding of why I love her so, which means other stuff as well. So anyway, there's Anne. And astrologer Bronwyn Simmons, she talks a lot about the divine feminine and the moon, and I've taken several of her classes. She has a astrology podcast as well called Venus Rising. And actually, she introduced me to this technique, and in one of her classes, like went through it, and it blew my mind because I was total unconscious story happened around my career and started unfolding. And this was at the full moon that we were having this conversation, and it just blew my mind. And I thought, I really have to understand this better so that I can, put it in action in my life and understand things as they start, and how to bring, how to move forward with purpose. And the astrology software I used was Solar Fire. So why now? So this is like my little fun fact that I wanted to look at. That it's askew. It's okay. I had completely different plans on what I was going to do today. Every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. PST, I do my celestial insights on the week, talk about the moon phase, the transits, and blah, blah, blah. And afterwards, something just came over me, and I was getting ready to do something totally else. And it was like, I've been threatening to put together videos and start doing my video series for months now. And I finally decided to do it. And then I was like, after I finished the presentation and was like getting ready to start it, start recording, I pulled the chart of the transits of now. So this is me and my natal chart on the inside, and this is the transits at the time I made the time I decided to pull them right before. It was like 5 minutes before I started recording or what have you. So I was like, why am I doing this today? Because I had a whole list of other things to do. So what you can see is the moon is here in Virgo. And Virgo is in my third house of communication. So I had a call within myself to convey information that's in an organized fashion, that is practical, useful, all these earthy things. While I was creating this, the transiting moon in Virgo was exactly what's called, let me pull up this annotation so I can really demonstrate this. The moon was, this is called a trine, when you have two signs in the same element. So Virgo's an earth sign and Taurus is an earth sign. So here is my personal Mercury, how I think and communicate, is in the sign of Taurus. And if you'll see here, the degree here is 21 and the degree here is 22. Well, while I was creating this, the moon was at 21. So it was like pow, an exact trine to my natal Mercury from the moon. So I had a subconscious desire to communicate. That's pretty simple. Yeah. And the sun is in Aquarius. So I'm like communicating something to the collective, or anyone who happens to see this video some way, either on YouTube or what have you. It's all about communication. So how interesting that I'm doing this. It's also, the moon is also approaching my Pluto. So my power, transformation, and regeneration and all sorts of other stuff. But anyway, so maybe this will be like some transformation where I keep doing these on a regular schedule. In fact, I can pretty sure I'm probably going to do it. Maybe I'll get some new followers from this. And who knows, maybe I'll transform someone else's life that's transiting Pluto, who becomes my client in the future and wants to get a reading from me and find out these moon phase families or anything else about astrology in their life to help them, understand their soul's purpose, plan with more action. Maybe you'll be a coaching client. Who knows? So anyway, I just thought this was so cool when I looked. I'm like, why am I doing this today? I have all these other things to do. And then I did this. The other thing that's so interesting, you don't see it, I don't think, on here, but the rising sign was in Leo of the performer. And the sign of the performer, the presenter, at the time when I started videotaping this. So hopefully I will shine and you will enjoy this. Please feel free to drop comments. Is there anything you need clarity on, or if there's something you have a different perspective on and want to point that out as well. But I hope you enjoyed this and it was practical and you can feel like you can take some actions to, plan your life better or understand things when they happen. Okay, great. Now what's going on? And I have a lot of nerve doing this during Mercury retrograde, but I said I'm going to go right ahead. And if you can see, my Mercury is in retrograde. And now the slide won't advance. Okay, here we are. Oh, here we are. Let me see. Erase all this. Okay, so this is about where to find me. So I'm Celeste. I'm the principal astrologer and founder of Astrology by Celeste. You can find my website at astrologybyceleste.com. Subscribe to my mailing list. I do a lot of extra goodies for people on my mailing list here and there. At my website, you can also view my blog. I do new moon and full moon blogs, and then, about some other topics as well. You can download my free Sync with the Moon guide, and it talks about the transiting moon and like things to do the different days when the moon's transiting. Virgo moon, I love Virgo moon for me. I get so much done. And I enjoy doing mundane tasks during the Virgo moon. So yeah, I love it. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. You can also book a reading. So you can book a new beginnings or a closing chapter reading. If it's always a great time to have a reading, like if you're near a birthday or just feel a call of your soul to get some clarity on what's going on in your life. There's some big things happening this year, and I can help you understand where you may be impacted by them. Also, always my Instagram lives Sunday at 9:30 a.m. and I also post them on Facebook. And I've started my YouTube channel, although this is really my first big YouTube video, so you can be there. My Moon Mastery Program, which is going to be a 6-week class/coaching program about how to use the moon cycles, the 30-day cycles, the 29-day cycles every month, plus these larger cycles, plus there's a whole lot of other stuff with the moon. The moon is just incredible. There's so much to learn about the moon, and it is just such a beautiful, beautiful mother, teacher, and friend. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, please leave a comment, and if you liked it, please give me a like, and yeah, please follow me on social media. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day. Oh, I'm still recording. I'm like, Yeah, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Bye now.